Madam Chair, we now have a quorum with 8.
All right, great. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm Caroline Jurin, Executive Director of the Virginia Board of Pharmacy, but Chairman of the Forensic Science Board. And for the record, it does appear that we have a quorum of the board. And so therefore, I now call the meeting of the Forensic Science Board to order. Board members, please be sure to speak loudly and clearly. As a reminder, this is an all virtual meeting. And in case the transmission of the meeting fails, board members or members of the public should call the number noted on the agenda to alert staff. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. You are asked to keep your microphones muted when not speaking, and cameras must remain turned on for the entire meeting. So if you have not already turned on your cameras, if you would please do that. Under Virginia FOIA laws, any member who voluntarily turns their camera off or whose camera otherwise fails will be considered absent for that portion of the meeting when determining a quorum. Please remember to state your name prior to providing a comment or asking a question, and that will help facilitate minutes taking. Let's now begin with some brief introductions of board members and staff. Ms. Sorkin, will you please start us off and list each participant's name so that we don't miss anyone? Board members and staff, after Ms. Sorkin calls your name, please identify yourself and who you represent. Ms. Sorkin?
Thank you. Do I see Officer Alan Evans? Is he on yet? I do not believe he's on. Okay. Graven Craig, I don't believe you're on either. Okay. Ms. Davenport.
Hi, J.K. Davenport. I'm here representing the Attorney General's office.
Okay. Dr. Gormley. Okay, I see Mr. Craig is on, so you can go ahead. Let me just give you access. Sorry. Okay. Mr. Craig, can you hear us? Great. Okay, you need to put your mic on.
There we go. Hello, Graven
Great.
Craig. I'm an attorney, defense attorney in Louisa, Virginia.
Okay, Mr. Hayden.
Executive Secretary, Supreme Court of Virginia.
Lieutenant Colonel Sterling.
Good morning, Director of BCI for VSP.
Ms. Howard.
Good morning. Kristen Howard, Director of the Crime Commission, attending as designee for Delegate Charnel Herring, who is Chair of the Crime Commission.
Okay, Dr. Maha.
George Maha, member of the Scientific Advisory Committee.
Ms. McNeil.
Good morning, Ashaki McNeil, Director of DCJS.
Okay. And Mr. Olson I just have to send him the link to the meeting, so he will be on shortly. Senator Perry. Okay. Mr. Wyatt.
Morning,
having trouble
Shane
logging
Wyatt, Chief
I'm
of
sorry.
Laboratory Operations with the Division of Consolidated Laboratory Services. I'm attending as the designee for our laboratory director, Dr. Denise Tony.
Okay, and Delegate Watts. Not on. Okay, thank you.
Ms. Sorkin, could we go through staff as well? Director Jackson, if you want us to start us off, maybe at least the key staff members.
Sure. Linda Jackson, Director of the Department of Forensic Science.
Okay, Dr. Barron.
David Barron, Deputy Director, Department of Forensic Science.
Okay, Samantha Glass. Okay, Dr. Hutchings.
Hi, James Hutchings, Toxicology Program Manager.
Okay. Amy, Miss Director Jackson. You already went. Sorry. Chief Deputy Director Jenkins.
Morning, Amy Jenkins, Chief Deputy Director of the Department.
Okay, Joshua Kruger.
I'm Josh Kruger, Northern Laboratory Director.
Okay, Alka Lohman.
Good morning, Alka Lohman, Director of Technical Services.
Michael May.
Yes, good morning, Scott May, Central Laboratory Director.
Jessica Norton. Okay. Kevin Patrick, are you on today?
He's in
Julie
a
Smith.
class today.
Okay, sorry. Julie Smith.
Hi, good morning. Director of Human Resources.
Okay. Is Becky Wagner on the call today? Robin Weimer, are you on today?
Good morning, Robin Weimer, Chemistry Program Manager.
Ellen Spain.
Good morning, Ellen Spain, Evidence Receiving Program Manager.
David Seeker.
David Seeker, Director's Office, Communications.
Okay, Heather Ford.
Heather Ford, Legal Assistant for DFS.
Okay, we have Juliana Redleaf as well.
Hi, yes, Julie Redleaf, Department of Forensic Science, Eastern Lab, Acting Director in place of Dave Copenhaver.
Elizabeth, and did I get Elizabeth? Okay, if I missed anyone, I apologize. I'm trying to field some tech requests as well. I also see that Senator Perry has joined the call. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Senator Perry, Senator for the 31st District up in Loudoun and Fauquier counties.
If I missed anyone.
And Senator Perry, if you're able to open your camera under FOIA, apparently we need to keep our cameras on or else we will not be part of the quorum.
I will
Thank
do
you.
my best. I'm one of the people having technical difficulties this morning, so.
Got it.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right,
Miss
Ms. Sorkin, is that-
Miss
Yes, go ahead.
Sorkin, it's Michelle Welch. I'm
Oh.
the counsel to the FSC board. I just wanted to say hi.
Thank you. Thank you.
We do not want to forget you. We absolutely need your presence. So thank you so much. Is there anyone else that needs to be introduced that we have overlooked? Okay, well, thank you, everyone. I know it takes a little bit longer to navigate all of these processes on a virtual meeting, but thank you for your patience. It is important to get everyone introduced. We only get together every now and then, and so if nothing else, a good reminder of everyone's names and who they're representing is always a good thing. So let's move on to the first order of business, which is the adoption of the agenda of the meeting. Members should have received the draft agenda from Ms. Sorkin. Are there any additions or suggested changes to the draft agenda? As a reminder, would you please state your name when making any suggestions and motions throughout this meeting? So again, are there any additions or suggested changes to the draft agenda? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to adopt the draft agenda? If you would please state your name.
Carl Haid, move to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. Haid. We've got I think that was you. Mr. Haid, you were the one that made the motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there a second?
Karen
Senator
Sterling.
Perry, I'll second that motion.
Okay, Senator Perry, I'm hearing you loud and clear, so we'll give you the second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Staff, I'll lean on you if you think that we need to do a roll call, but it would appear to me that there was consent to support the motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Okay. Moving on then, the next item is the approval of the draft minutes from the April 20th, 2026 meeting that Ms. Sorkin also previously shared with everyone. Are there any proposed changes or amendments to the meeting minutes? Okay, hearing no amendments to the minutes, is there a motion to approve the draft minutes as presented?
Karen Sterling, so moved.
Thank you so much. We have a motion. Is there a second?
This is Senator Perry, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, the motion appears to carry to approve the meeting minutes as presented. So moving right on through the agenda, we're now down to the chair's report. I'm sure that everyone read the email recently shared by Ms. Jenkins that Director Jackson has announced her retirement effective July 31st. And therefore, I assume that this might be your last Forensic Science Board meeting in your official capacity. So as a point of privilege, I would like to acknowledge Director Jackson for her 31 years of dedication and outstanding leadership and service to the department and the Commonwealth. Thank you, Director Jackson. It has certainly been a pleasure working with you over the many years.
Thank you.
I'd also like, you're very welcome. I have a feeling maybe we'll hear a little bit more about that as the meeting goes. I'd also like to congratulate Alka Lohman, who has been appointed by Governor Spanberger to serve as the next director effective August 1st. Ms. Lohman, we know that you will certainly do an excellent job. We've worked with you as well throughout the years, and we certainly wish you all the best and look forward to working with you in this new capacity. And that is all that I have for the chairman's report. Moving down to the Scientific Advisory Committee report. Dr. Maha, will you please provide this report from the April meeting of the Scientific Advisory Committee meeting?
All right, the Scientific Advisory Committee and its various subcommittees met in Mechanicsville, Virginia on April 20th and 21st of this year. 4 subcommittee meetings were held on April 20th, including toxicology, controlled substances, trace evidence, and forensic biology. The toxicology subcommittee reviewed and commented on 2 validation summaries involving novel psychoactive substances and 7 novel benzodiazepines to existing methods. The Controlled Substance Committee reviewed and commented on 2 validation summaries involving multi-point calibration curve for the quantitative analysis of cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine, and the quantitative analysis of methamphetamine hydrochloride by ultraviolet visible spectrophotometry. Trace Evidence Subcommittee reviewed and commented on the micro X-ray fluorescence verification summary for the forensic comparison of glass. The Forensic Biology Subcommittee reviewed and commented on the performance check of the BSD 600 Ascent A2 sample puncher for the DNA data bank and the validation of the VitriPro thermal cyclers for casework, along with the required site-specific assessment studies for the Northern, Western, and Eastern laboratories. On the morning of April 21st, the Firearms and Toolmark Subcommittee met in advance of the full SAC committee. The subcommittee reviewed the status of corrective actions and the disclosure process related to the Western Laboratory Firearms section. The subcommittee provided comments and recommendation. The full Scientific Advisory Committee meeting was held on April 21st. The committee's agenda included subcommittee reports, the director's report, updates from the Division of Technical Services, updates regarding the Mary Jane Burton case, proposed amendments to the SAC bylaws, and elected a new chair. Aaron Forney was elected chair, and the SAC and Jennifer Bro was reelected vice chair. The next meeting of the SAC is scheduled for April 6, 2026, and will be virtual. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Dr. Maha. Appreciate that. All right. Any questions for Dr. Maha? Okay, hearing none, let us move on to the director's report. Director Jackson.
Okay, thank you. Let me share my screen and hope for the best. All right, hopefully you can see the slides and not, if someone could confirm, thank you, because I can no longer see you guys. All right, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for your kind words. You are correct that this is my final director's report that I will be giving to this body after serving in this role for about 13 and a half years. And very much looking forward to our new director taking over. And so Alka Lohman, she's been the Director of Technical Services for also about 13 years. She's been with the department for since 2000 and has acted as the breath alcohol supervisor, the calibration and training program manager, and is very active before becoming the Director of Technical Services, where she serves as the quality manager for the entire agency statewide, and also the director of the breath alcohol calibration laboratory. She's been very active in national groups, such as the International Association for Chemical Testing, or IACT, and she does meet the qualifications that are prescribed by this Forensic Science Board. That is one of the things that this body is statutorily directed to do, is decide what the qualifications for the director are. They were last updated, or at least I don't know that there were any changes actually, but they were last approved on October 12th, 2023. And the basic requirements that are in that document are that you have to have an advanced degree, 10 years of service in forensic science, and 5 of those years in a management capacity in an accredited forensic science lab. So we are very excited. I've been spending, it's nice that the administration has worked with us so that we could have this period of overlap where she has been shadowing me a little bit, and we've been traveling together to each of the laboratories. We're actually leaving this afternoon to go to the Eastern Laboratory in Norfolk, and that's provided us with some quality time in the car to talk a lot about the things that I do in this position, so that hopefully we can have a very smooth transition. It's been a very exciting 2026 thus far. I've been talking about the construction of the new laboratory for quite some time. We had obviously our Forensic Science Board meeting there in April, and it was a little chaotic at the time because of all of the moving. So we did have that moving period where the first folks started moving March 9th, and the final people moved the week of April 13th. And so all the sections have resumed work, and some of them took longer than others due to when they moved and the amount of different validation that had to be done on their instrumentation and processes in the new facility. But like drugs, they were back online mid-April, tox also in April. The casework for DNA, that was back online by the end of April. The data bank was not online until the end of May, and mitochondrial DNA actually did not go back online until June 9th. just depends on the amount of work that had to be done. But we're moving along. Obviously, there's been some delays with casework when we were down for a period of time. We did do some movement of cases to other laboratories for rush things, but we are working to get back in the swing of that. We had a very exciting ribbon cutting ceremony. I appreciated those of you that were able to join us for that. We were excited that the governor was able to join us and provided, I thought, very inspiring words to our staff and the staff of the medical examiner for appreciating the work that they do and how much it matters in the criminal justice system and in the Commonwealth. So we had David Barron, who was our project lead. He was the MC of the ceremony. I gave remarks. Dr. Gormley gave remarks. The Deputy Secretary of Health and Human Services, Lauren Walker, gave remarks. Also, the Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security, Stanley Metter, and then obviously, and of course, the governor. And so we were very excited about that. I did mention at the last meeting that once we moved into this facility, we became aware of the fact that the U.S. Postal Service does not bring mail into facilities in Hanover County. And so we had to engineer and add a secure mail center for DFS and for OCME. So we had, so this was a little bit of an expensive mailbox situation putting on, because we had to add the concrete pad, add the bollards, the yellow bollards there to keep someone from hitting the mailbox and taking it away, if that was a possibility. And we also chose mailboxes that don't have a slot for anything to be put into them. So we can put, so we have a key and the postmaster has a key. And so we can put evidence. We don't actually, sorry, let me re-speak. So if evidence or data bank samples are mailed to us in the US mail, those can, and they are not sent certified, they can be put into the secure mailbox. And when we return mail, we send it through a different carrier, certified mail. For certified mail, that still requires a signature and would not be left in the mailbox. So in the new facility, we have some new technology that we are adding.
What is it?
Yes? Okay, so we do have some new technology that we are adding based on purchases made with building funds. 3 of the big items are we have purchased a rapid DNA instrument, and we bought, there are 2 instruments that are available from 2 different vendors. We plan to buy both, but with this funding through the building, we went first with purchasing the one manufactured by Andy. That is the same instrument that state police uses, so that we will be able to help support them as the uses of rapid DNA may expand if the chip used by the Andy instrument is approved by the FBI. We also have bought a next generation sequencing DNA instrument. So that looks at a much larger amount of DNA, looking at the sequencing instead of just the very isolated points of DNA that we use for casework. We are not going to start using this with casework, but we are going to be using it for mitochondrial DNA testing. It will provide more selective information with the mitochondrial DNA to hopefully be able to provide better information for looking at unidentified remains and that type of thing. So that instrument has arrived, but it will not be installed until September, so that we are having QIAGEN, the vendor, work on the validation of that technology. And so that will be done in the fall. So it'll be installed kind of in line with them coming in and working on the validation. And we hope by the beginning of next year to be able to transition from our current technology for mitochondrial DNA to this next generation sequencing. We also have bought it's a two-part system. You can see both in the pictures, a 3D scanning microscopy system for use in firearms. We also have purchased this for our Northern Lab and Eastern Lab so that it is available in all of the locations we're doing comparisons. And so we're coming up with the validation plan now for the cartridge case module. And so we will start hopefully working on that validation in the fall, and hopefully by the first of the year, start being able to use that in casework. We will then move on to looking at the phase 2 part of the project, where we start validating its use on bullets. And that is something, the portion with cartridge cases is more familiar to our staff because it is very, very similar to the NIBIN technology that is used for scanning cartridge cases. And so that's why we thought we'd start with that. It'll be a much lighter lift. Also, at the ribbon cutting, we dedicated the training center, which is the training center is where we had the classroom where the Forensic Science Board met in April. And it includes that whole classroom situation that can be divided into 2 or 3 independent classrooms or be opened up to be one large classroom. It also is the home of our forensic training section, where they have a classroom and a laboratory and 2 crime scene rooms, as well as the training laboratory and classroom for breath alcohol. And so if you remember, our Biotech 2 facility was actually named the Paul B. Ferrara building. And since we are not going to have control of that building any longer, and the outcome of what will happen to that building is unknown, we wanted to make sure that we honored Dr. Ferrara with something in this new building. It was nice too that his wife, he passed away years ago, but his wife was able to come to the ribbon cutting, so she was excited. Our forensic training section, they did finish their first Forensic Science Academy session. They graduated on June 12th. The Secretary Metter gave the keynote address, which was excellent. We also had a virtual laboratory capabilities and update training for graduates and any other law enforcement. They're all able to attend that to hear updates on our capabilities and policies. That was on June 24th. A couple things that we're planning. We are holding a workshop on evidence submission and evidence submission policies at our Western laboratory on July 21st. And we are also planning for some DNA collection training to be held in Southwest Virginia. We're hoping to be able to hold that somewhere further west than our Roanoke lab. And so that is, we've noticed that in the southwest part of the state, we have more evidence that is just the entire piece of evidence is submitted to us instead of a swab where the DNA has been collected on site. So instead of receiving 2 swabs of evidence, we might receive an entire cash register so that we could do that swabbing. And so hopefully that will allow for some easier evidence collection and still very valid evidence collection out in that area. With our accreditation, I had already mentioned that our accreditation had been successfully renewed and that our current cycle expires in 2030. We did have to have a new site evaluation for the new central laboratory, and that was completed successfully in May. So we do have an updated certificate and scope document that do have the address, the current address now on them, and those are up on our website. We are also training 15 of our individuals, scientific staff, to be assessors. The accreditation model that we use allows for, they have staff lead assessors, but they use technical assessors that are scientific staff who are trained in the assessment and auditing process for 17025 from other laboratories around the country. And so we already do have some staff that are trained to do this and perform audits at other laboratories. And we are adding to that by bringing in this class. Having people go out and do audits or assessments for other laboratories has been a very beneficial process for us. It gives people opportunities to see how other laboratories perform their testing and their duties and how their workflows work. And even though we're all meeting the same criteria in the standard, there are different ways to go about that, and seeing how other laboratories do it can spark ideas for how to improve here in Virginia. We have our surveillance visit, which is what happens in year 2 of our cycle that is scheduled for the week of September 20th. And that is a document review surveillance assessment. And so that is something that is being prepared for now. So we just actually last week sent out the seized drug report. We've been doing these annually since 2013 when I became the director. These reports are based on the data that we collect for the DEA's NIFLS program that looks at drug trends nationally. All of our data for the seized drugs that we analyze is sent to the research section and Baron Blakely over at the Department of Criminal Justice Services, and he and his staff put together this report. They use this data for other purposes as well, such as the offender population forecasting and other things where they are looking at crime data. And so since they are already looking at this data, it's nice that they have been willing to partner with us to provide this report. The big interesting thing to me is cocaine is back on top for the drug scene and the most samples. And it was like when I was a drug chemist for many years, and it was always cocaine. And in 2019, that flipped, and methamphetamine was our highest drug, and they have flipped back again after several years of increases, which you can see on the graph there, of cocaine. We continue to see in the illicit opioid category where fentanyl, just plain fentanyl, not any of the analogs, continues to be the highest, most often seen one of those, with considerably most of the market with 94%. With our Board of Pharmacy recommendations for their consideration for expedited scheduling, we did recommend 6 compounds on April 15th. The compounds were considered at their June 16th meeting, and they are pending final approval. The board also considered the scheduling of 23 drugs that had been scheduled federally to conform with the Virginia code with the federal, and those are also pending final approval. It did include one of the THC synthetic derivatives, and that is the hexahydrocannabinol, or HHC. With our breath alcohol instrument platform update, we have now received all of the 220 instruments, and we have done initial testing on those to allow for payment. We were able to pay for the instruments within the prior fiscal year. So we had money carry over from the year, from the prior fiscal year, since we had not been able to get them within that time period. And so we were able to pay for them as scheduled. So now that was kind of some initial testing. We are still needing to do all of the acceptance testing, the official acceptance testing of these instruments. And in order to do that, we are waiting on one more small update to the firmware or software that's within the instrument from Draeger. And then we will do that. All of our DFS staff has received their training from Draeger on the instrument. And so now we're able to develop our training materials for operators. The last thing we're waiting on before this can be rolled out officially is that we also need to interface this instrument with our BRAD system, or the breath alcohol database, as part of our LIMS. These instruments have a LAN connection for being able to send data electronically back to DFS. And so it's that interface that will pick that data up and put it into the database that our vendor TCSC is working on. We are continuing to transfer cases around internally. Obviously, any comparison cases from firearms from Western, those are being transferred. We are transferring some latent print cases from Northern, since we still only have one examiner down there. But our exciting news is that we have identified 2 candidates for those 2 open positions, and I believe they are scheduled to start in August. And so that is certainly good news. For outsourcing of our DNA cases, we had started that last year to try and help with our backlog. We are limiting the cases that can go for that DNA testing to cases, non-persons cases that we call them, that have very limited samples to try and rein in the costs. So last year we had 600 cases that were sent. We are estimating that we probably will be sending less this year, more like 400. We are going to start with 200 cases from our Western lab that have already been identified. For OCME toxicology cases, we did allow for the Central District to send during the move period for a 6-week period. They sent all of their cases to the private laboratory where they have their contract. But that ended mid-April, when our toxicology testing went back online. And Western, we have been allowing them to send suspected overdose cases to the private laboratory since we have had several people in training, and that started in 2025, and it is approved through the end of August this year. We have several of our trainees that are about to be done, and so we are looking forward to bringing that testing back in-house. And for controlled substances, we are sending a limited number of samples when working with the customers for THC quantitation in edibles if it's needed for prosecution. So we mentioned already the firearms review of Western, and just as a review, that we did halt those comparisons in April of 2025. They are no longer on our scope of accreditation. And so I just wanted to give an update with the staffing from there. We have moved the 2 examiner positions that we had allocated for firearms in Western. We have moved those up to the Northern lab, and we are in the interview process with those now, so that we are hoping to be able to expand the Northern laboratory capability to be able to handle more of the case transfers. And we're doing that because we don't have a supervisor currently in that area, and it's I think it'll take a little while to reestablish that section, and so we wanted to use the positions we had to expand it in another location. But our case reviews are continuing with our external contractor. We have continued to send case file documentation to that contract examiner for the independent review, and we are working to have evidence resubmitted for reexamination in several cases. When the Scientific Advisory Committee Firearms Subcommittee met prior to this SAC meeting in April, Director of Technical Services Alka Lohman gave a presentation outlining our corrective action process, including our actions and findings with the affiliated corrective actions relating to firearms. During their discussion, they discussed DFS notifying the defense bar in addition to our other notifications to Commonwealth's attorneys and law enforcement. We wholeheartedly agreed, and we sent that notification on May 5th. And we are continuing to provide assistance with re-exams as those are requested, and currently we're able to do those within available resources. But we do have limited staff in firearms, and we have a lot of folks either in the hiring process or in training. And so we are looking very strenuously at putting out an RFP, request for proposal procurement process for getting some help with training our trainees. There are several different vendors that have training programs for firearms examiners, and they kind of vary pretty significantly in how they're structured. There are a couple of, or at least one option that includes web-based modular training, but with one-on-one training or one-on-one interactions with a trainer. And so as I said, we're starting the procurement process to look for some help with our firearms training so that our examiners, they can supplement with the training, but not have to do the bulk of it, and have some assistance so that they can focus on working cases. So just to go over a few case statistics, it's the end of the fiscal year. So just looking at a few big picture items. Cases received, we received less cases by just under 2,000 cases, and that's for all disciplines across the entire state. In fiscal year 26, we received just about the same number of subpoenas, had a few more court appearances, and provided testimony a few more times. There were a couple of sections where the amount of times where they actually got to testify when they went increased, which is actually pretty good. We analyzed about the same number of data bank samples from fiscal year 25 to 26. And that includes that we were down for probably 2 months with the move. The data bank operations are completely in the central laboratory. We were able to do more samples in the less amount of time, since we were down for 2 months, because we have all of our folks are now qualified. And so we had people in training in fiscal year 25. Now we should be able to catch up with the ones that are backlogged from while we were moving, since we are at full staff. We also provided training. We have about 6,000 or so breath alcohol operators that are licensed in Virginia. It's a 2-year cycle of when you need to be relicensed. So it kind of varies from year to year. We did stop doing as much operator training during the move, and also as we are anticipating the change to the new instrument. This slide shows the difference between how many cases were received and how many cases were completed. And so that percent completed means that we did about what we got in. So if it's 100%, we did what we got in. And so that allows us to maintain whatever our productivity is, whatever our backlogs are. So if we need to reduce our backlog, that percent completed needs to be above 100%. And so for FY26, we were right around 100% for most of the sections, but we were a little bit down in the controlled substances section, and you'll see that with the increase in turnaround time. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And so this just shows the, again, with the cases submitted, but then what the final backlog was at the end of the fiscal year, and then the average turnaround time in days for the cases that were completed in that time period. So it's an average of how long it took for the cases to be worked during the entire fiscal year, as an average. And so obviously we would like those numbers to be reduced. And so we are actually holding our own in firearms. The forensic biology has had gone up a little from 231 days on average to 263. But that is definitely something that we are continuing to work on. And several others have, latent prints has actually gone down. I won't go through this in detail, but I've presented this before, and so I wanted to just give the update of where we were with 2026. This shows the testimony support statistics for fiscal year 26 with how many subpoenas were received, how many times people actually had to appear in court, and then how many times they were providing testimony if they appeared, and then the time out of the laboratory for doing that support. And so obviously there are some sections that if they, especially firearms and forensic biology, that if they are appearing in court, it is very likely that they will get to provide testimony. Both breath alcohol and drugs went up in their percentage of being able to provide testimony if they were if they went to court. They were both around 30-something% last year, and it's up 56% this year. And then it's exactly the same as last year for toxicology, that the folks who go for to support toxicology work, they get to provide testimony about 11% of the time that they appear. I will not go through each of these, but they're provided for your information. These are the trends. I will say with controlled substances that right now we have about 89% of our staff that are qualified. We've had a couple of folks retire. Normally for the past 2 years, we've been hovering more in the 93 to 95% qualified range. And so, we do have 2 folks in training and 4 in the hiring process. And so I think we have sufficient staff. We just need to get that percent qualified back up. Digital and multimedia evidence, we are fully staffed. In that section in firearms, this is where I was talking about needing some additional assistance with training. We have 17 scientists that are qualified. We have 3 that are currently in the training process and 8 that are in the hiring process. And that includes both NIBIN staff as well as forensic scientist staff. And so that is pretty low in our percentage of staff that are actually qualified to do work. Forensic biology, we have been doing several things to try and increase our capacity, including the outsourcing that we were doing. We currently have 80% of our staff that are qualified. That includes the 2 new positions that we just were authorized to hire in the FY27 budget. So we have 52 scientists that are qualified. We have 6 in training and 7 in the hiring process, including those 2 new ones that we actually haven't posted yet. In latent prints, we are 91% qualified. We have 20 folks that are qualified to do casework and 2 that we've been trying to hire for quite some time, like over a year and a half, and that will be starting in August. Toxicology, we have 81% qualified, and we have several in our Western lab that are nearing completion that I spoke about earlier, which is why we'll stop the outsourcing. And trace evidence, that is an area where it's a very small section. We have 8 qualified examiners. We have 2 that are in training and 1 that's in the hiring process. So just an update on our budget and resources. Our MEL, maximum employment limit, went up to 376 with the addition of those 2 new positions. Current staffing, we have about 325 general fund and 20 non-general fund staff members. All of our funds from FY26 were expended, including those carryover funds that paid for the breath alcohol equipment. They also helped us pay for the utilities costs as we were maintaining both the new building and the old building in the Richmond area. So that Paul B. Ferrara building at 700 North 5th Street, we have completed the paperwork for DGS, to release that building for disposal. So it is my understanding that Dr. Barron is going to work with DGS to have it appraised in the near future. And it sounds like it may be put up for sale, although that is something that I guess they're still working on. That a leased space that we were leasing in the Biotech 8 facility across the street, we did vacate that prior to the end of the lease. And so that is all finished. Our one other big project that we have ongoing is that our Eastern Laboratory in Norfolk needs a new roof. And so that is a maintenance reserve project that is in process. The design for the new roof has been completed and it is in the procurement process. And so that is a lengthy type of procurement process, but it's seemingly kind of moving along now as we have someone from another laboratory that is, or from another agency, I'm sorry, that is helping with that procurement. The one other thing with the facilities is we still are working to develop an estimate for how much our utilities will be in this new facility. The total electric for the old lab in the city of Richmond for FY26 was about $460,000, and for the new lab, it's already at 315 with it being $1,000, with it only being 4 months of expenses. So it's certainly going to be more. Obviously, it's double the square footage, and so that's something that we're still working with, and we'll work with DPB with that estimate. The last thing that I have includes a request for a motion or for approval. There is a federal grant that has come out. It is from the Bureau of Justice Assistance with the ATF. Basically, the ATF would like for everyone who has an older NIBIN system that does the database searching for cartridge cases, they would like everyone to update to a newer system. And so to have that happen, they are inviting everyone who has an older system to apply for a grant to replace the system and pay for 5 years of maintenance of that system. And so we have 6 systems that are on the list where we have been invited to apply to have them updated, which would be $1.8 million. And so the solicitation does include that we have to agree to the program of NIBIN, which is like 3 pages of criteria that we will agree that we will abide by. But this is these are the same criteria that we already agree to as part of the NIBIN program. So it is not anything that is new. And so I've also asked, because this is new non-general fund funding that we don't currently have an allocation for in our budget. I've also gone through DPB, and they are going through their process to also seek approval for us to apply for this, but I also need to ask for the board's consideration.
This is Eric Olson. I'm going to make a motion that we apply for that grant.
And this is Senator Perry, and I'll second Mr. Olson's motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second then to allow the department to apply for and receive those funds if awarded from this NIBIN grant. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate being able to speak with you today. I do want to pass along one more piece of information that I realized I didn't share at the last meeting because he had not started yet. But you know that Amy Jenkins, who served as our DFS counsel for many years, was appointed and now is our chief deputy director. We did hire a new DFS department counsel, and his name is William Wittenbrook. And he came and joined us on Monday, April 27th. He was at the Office of the Attorney General, where he was our assigned AAG for the past 2 years. And in that role, he advised us on various legal matters as to be expected. Before he was at the AG, he spent 4 years in the Gloucester Commonwealth Attorney's Office, and he also worked for the Portsmouth Commonwealth Attorney's Office and the Lynchburg Public Defender's Office, as well as serving as a magistrate in the city of Hopewell. And so we are excited that he has joined us and is getting his feet wet with all sorts of good stuff. And he is on vacation this week, and hopefully everyone will get to meet him soon. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve as the director for what seems like forever.
Thank you, Director Jackson. Yes, lots of applauses all around. That was a phenomenal report. Can't believe it was your last one. I'm sure you're really glad, or maybe it's bittersweet to not have to provide that report to us any longer. But again, thank you for all of your service and leadership. It's been amazing. Are there any questions for Director Jackson? Okay, I do not see any raised hands or anyone speaking out, so we will move on to the old business portion of the agenda. Let's begin with the update on the Mary Jane Burton cases. We'll first hear from Dr. Christina Barnes-Arrington, Senior Methodologist with the Virginia State Crime Commission, and then Chief Deputy Director Jenkins will provide an update on department notifications and other activities. So Dr. Arrington, we will turn it over to you.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay and see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Very good. Well, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Today's presentation will provide a brief update on the 2 distinct reviews relating to the work of Mary Jane Burton that staff has been directed to complete, including the status of the case file review based on 2024 budget language, as well as an update on the review panel relating to certain cases worked by Ms. Burton based on 2025 legislation. As you recall, budget language was passed in 2024, directing the Crime Commission to determine the scope of Ms. Burton's work across the following 3 categories. And today, we are pleased to report that we have completed reviewing 100% of all known cases worked by Ms. Burton. So that's over 7,500 cases reviewed and cross-validated. And during the course of this case file review, we've thus far identified 199 cases with indication of testimony by Ms. Burton, as well as an additional 933 named suspects. And here's a visual of our current status of work on the budget language as of June 15th of this year. Because we've now reviewed all 7,500 cases and classified them by whether or not they include at least one named suspect, the focus is now really on the green and orange boxes, focusing particularly on these 2,800 named suspects whose conviction status still needs to be verified. So our next steps include finalizing the information we gathered manually from our case file review into a spreadsheet so we can provide the necessary information to each respective clerk of court to help us research the disposition status of these remaining 2,800 named suspects. And once all convicted named suspects are verified and classified by status, we will then be able to report on the final number of cases and individuals, which will then complete the directives of the 2024 budget language. And now on to the second review relating to the work of Ms. Burton based on 2025 legislation, which directs the Crime Commission to designate a panel to review cases where Ms. Burton was either the forensic examiner and the case resulted in a conviction of an individual who is now incarcerated, was exonerated, or was executed, or where Ms. Burton testified in court, regardless of the final disposition for the defendants in those cases. To date, staff has thus far identified 325 unique cases that meet the purview of the legislation for review by this panel. And the 2025 legislation has directed this review panel to prioritize those individuals who are currently incarcerated. As such, we've continue to collect records from various entities on cases related to the individuals currently incarcerated. We're sharing those records with the UVA Innocence Project so that those records can then be provided to their network of pro bono attorneys. During this process, we are also working to determine whether any evidence remains available in the court or law enforcement files for possible DNA testing in these cases. Information gathered will then also, of course, be reviewed by the review panel, which is comprised of the following members: Commonwealth's attorney, public defender, a felony certified court-appointed criminal defense attorney, retired circuit court judge, a representative from the Office of the Attorney General, the executive director of the Mid-Atlantic Innocence Project, and an independent serologist. To assist in designating this review panel, the chair of the Crime Commission created a subcommittee to provide guidance to staff on panel logistics, develop an application and interview process for panel membership, and make recommendations on panel membership to the full Crime Commission. And the status on this is the subcommittee will interview panel member applicants this month and through August, and will make panel member recommendations to the full Crime Commission this fall. And now that the final budget has been approved, we know that it provides $25,000 each year to support the work of the review panel, and the subcommittee will provide further guidance on how to allocate this funding. And finally, an update on the work of the review panel will be provided to the Crime Commission in January of 2027. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Harrington. Any questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll turn it over to Ms. Jenkins.
Good morning. Piggybacking off of Dr. Arrington's presentation, we have been working with the Crime Commission on that 1,280 number where we have confirmed convictions. Heather Ford, our senior legal assistant, has continued her diligent work in trying to locate those individuals that we know were convicted of Ms. Burton cases, and either sending out letters determining if they're deceased, or there have been a portion that we have been unable to locate. We just do not have sufficient PII to be able to locate them. So of those, I'm happy to report we've gotten through all 1,280 convictions and either determined that they are deceased, gotten a letter out, or that we were unable to locate. We have sent out 561 letters to individuals, and Dr. Arrington noted that there were 457 that were deceased and the remainder were unable to locate. We have continued to cooperate with the Crime Commission and UVA IP in scanning files for both the independent panel and for the UVA IP Coalition of Attorneys. As any new convictions are identified, we're adding to those scanned file records. We have also been working on scanning the exonerations and execution files and are anticipating that we'll complete those by the end of the month and can provide those to the Virginia State Crime Commission as well. Those are not a priority for the independent panel. It would be, they would begin with the incarcerated individuals, but we wanted to make sure that they had everything that they needed to begin their work. In addition, as we noted in April, we have determined that there were some individuals that should have been included in the PC testing project, but we received the wrong information as far as conviction status. And our central laboratory staff, as we have identified those that were in fact convicted of offenses where we have taped down swabs in the file, our central laboratory staff have been working on testing those. And we have completed all but 7 of those. And you know, the delay has been because we moved a lab in the middle of development, but we have not found any exonerations to date. There's still some where the results will need to be reviewed by the defense attorneys to determine probative value. And there are some that reference samples may be needed. But you know, for the most part, we have completed and sent those results out, or are notifying the parties of those results, and hopefully we'll have the additional 7 cases completed shortly. That's all I have on the department's update on the Burton case review. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. I'll pause for a second. Are there any questions regarding the update on the Mary Jane Burton cases that you've heard thus far? Okay, I do not hear or see any questions. And just to acknowledge, there looks like Officer Evans has had to step away to respond to a vehicle accident in his area. So just acknowledging that he has dropped off of this virtual meeting for the time being. All right, we will move on with the agenda to the proposed amendments to the Forensic Science Board bylaws. Chief Deputy Director Jenkins will review the information with us. So I'll turn it back over to you, Ms. Jenkins.
Sure. You may recall at the April meeting, we reviewed these bylaws. The bylaws require that you review any proposed amendments at one meeting and vote on them at the next meeting. They were forwarded out again to you for your review earlier this week. We do need a 2/3 majority vote in order to approve the changes that are proposed. Specifically, they are moving language to gender neutral language and conforming the language in the bylaws to the changes that were made under House Bill 680. That was the agency bill that was passed this past General Assembly session, and some other minor edits. So I would ask for a motion to approve those proposed amendments at this point in time if there are no further proposed edits or changes.
This is Senator Perry, so moved.
Okay, we've got a motion to adopt the amendments to the Forensic Science Board bylaws as presented. Is there a second?
This is Karen Sterling. I'll
Eric
second the
Olson,
motion.
second.
Okay, Ms. Sterling, we'll go with you. And is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing no opposition, the motion carries. The proposed amendments to the forensic bylaws are adopted. Let's see where we are. Okay, looks like we're going to move on to the Forensic Science Board update, the National Association of Forensic Science Board update. Director Jackson will provide us with an update. So I'll turn it back over to you, Director Jackson.
Yes, this is quick, but the National Association of Forensic Science Boards, I guess about a year and a half ago, this body approved me to be the member representing you as the board. So I am a level 1 member, meaning that I am as part of a board. And since I am retiring, I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity to rethink me being your representative. They have a meeting that is scheduled in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, October 13th through the 15th. They only meet annually. And so I will say in 2027, the VCU Forensic Science Department has offered to host the 2027 meeting. So it is possible that that meeting, if their board approves, will be held here in Richmond. For that, I had agreed to provide tours and to provide a little support with organization, but really the brunt of that would be handled by the VCU department, and Dr. Tracy Dawson Green is their chair and wants to show off their brand new life science building and have it be held on their campus. So that is my update, and we'll hand it back to you. End of chair.
Okay, thank you. So let's just open it up for any comments from the board. Is there support for continued participation? And if so, is there a nomination as to who would serve as the designee for the NAFSB?
This is Eric Olson. I think we should continue with it. And just personally, I've known Alka for a long time. I think she'd be an excellent candidate to serve in that capacity.
Any other comments? All right, then we do have one nomination. So is there a motion to approve Alka Lohman to serve as a designee to the National Association of Forensic Science Board?
Senator Perry, I'll make that.
Or I'll second Senator Perry's motion.
Okay, perfect. Senator Perry gets the motion. Mr. Olson, you're seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And Ms. Lohman, I did not ask you if you were willing to serve in that capacity, but I'm going to assume that you are. So congratulations, and thank you for your willingness, even though I haven't directly heard it from you, to potentially serve in this capacity. So thank you. All
Yes,
right,
ma'am.
moving on. Yes, I figured you would say yes, so thank you. Moving on to new business, looks like we've got a periodic review of regulations that is due for us. Ms. Jenkins, could you give us a little information on this subject?
Certainly. So we are due for a periodic review of 5 of our 6 regulations. As an agency, we have a very small amount of regulations, which is actually quite lovely. And they have to be reviewed per code and per directives from the governor's office every 4 years. We're slightly overdue for that, but it is appropriate that we now initiate that periodic review of those 5 of the 6 regulations. The process that occurs is that I would initiate that review in Virginia's regulatory town hall. It will then be noticed in the Register of Regulations, and at that time, a public comment period will open. We would initiate a 21-day public comment period and come back to the board in October with the results of any of those public comments, and also with recommendations as far as approving the repeal of those, the amendment of those, or retaining those as is. I would anticipate we might have some amendments to the breath alcohol regulation because of the new instrument, but very minor. So just more editorial as opposed to anything of substance. So I would anticipate that would be a fast track that would be initiated with the conclusion of the periodic review in October. The Attorney General's office will also review all 5 regulations to make sure that there is statutory authority for those, which they're all very firmly established in both the agency statutes, enabling statutes, and also in the statutes themselves that they're based upon. And then the governor's office would also review those as well. So what I would request from the board is authority to initiate those regulatory periodic reviews for the 5 regulations that are listed for breath alcohol, field tests for drugs, DNA analysis on arrest, marijuana field tests, and the data bank.
Is there a motion to approve the initiation of the periodic reviews for the regulations listed on the agenda?
So moved.
Senator Perry.
I'm sorry, who said the so moved? I didn't pop up on my screen fast enough.
Watts moved.
Delegate Watts. Yes, thank you. And then Senator
Senator
Perry,
Perry,
you have
I'll
the
second
second.
that. Sure.
Perfect. All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries to initiate that periodic review. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I think that brings us down to public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to provide comment today? And staff, by chance, did you receive any written public comment that you want to share with the board?
We did not receive any.
I do not see anyone raising hands or making us aware. I'm not sure if we have any members of the public on this particular virtual meeting. Staff, can you just confirm, Ms. Workin?
I can confirm.
Okay, thank you so much. So there are a few congratulatory chats. Director Jackson, hopefully you are seeing those. Everyone is very excited for your upcoming retirement and is wishing you a sincere congratulations for a long career of service, and you will be greatly missed, but hopefully you will not go too far and will continue to interact with you in some capacity. So the next meeting of this Forensic Science Board is scheduled for October 7th, and it will be an in-person meeting at the department's central laboratory in Mechanicsville. This concludes the agenda. If no one has anything else for us, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Senator Perry, so moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Carl Hayes, second.
Okay, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, thank you all for your participation today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.